Okay, so in this session, I'm going to teach you the arrays, about the arrays. So first, let's see the definition of array in Java. So array is an indexed collection of data elements of the same type. We say indexed, it means that each element in array has an index, right? So this index starts from 0. So the first element in the array has the index 0, the second one 1, the third one 2, and so on. The next point is that all of the elements in the array have the same type, right? If it's going to be integer, all of the elements will have the type of integer, or if it's going to be character, all of them will have the type char, right? So how we can create the arrays? First, we need to declare an array variable, and then we need to create the array. How we declare an array variable? The format for declaring an array variable is, as you see here, first type, then the array name. So first you need to write the type of the elements of the array. If it's going to be integer, int, if it's going to be character, char, and so on. So that's how you can declare an array. The next step is creating the array. So the format for creating the array is as follows. Array name equals new type and then size. So this size is actually the number of the elements that this array will have. For example, if this array is going to have, for example, 40 elements, the size will be 40. If the array it's going to have, for example, 20 elements, this size will be 20. So let's see some very simple example to declare and create the array so that it be more clear for you. As you see here in this example, we have an array named list, right? And we say that the type of the elements be integer, so int list. So that's how we declare this array, and then we need to create the array, right? So we create that by writing like that. List equals new int 30. So now we know that the name of this array will be list, the type of the elements of this array will be integer, and the number of elements in this array will be 30. Right. Or, for example, the next example is char name. First, we declare this array char name. So the name of this array is name, and the type of this array is char. Then we will create this array. Name be new char 20. So the type of this array is char. Its name is name, and the number of elements in this array is 20, right? There is a very simple point here, is that we can combine these two steps and have one final step, right? So we can declare and create an array in one step. So type array name equals new type and then size. So type here, for example, int array name list equals new type, for example, int and size 30. Or char name new char 20, right? That's some simple examples. So as you see, you can combine these two steps in one step and have them in one step instead of having them in two separate steps. You can declare and create an array in one simple step. So here we are going to see how we can initialize and use the arrays, right? So when array of a built-in type is created, elements are automatically initialized, right? So we have numeric type, chart type, and Boolean type. So when the elements of an array is numeric type, so they are initialized to 0. And if they are char, they will initialize to this value. Or when they are Boolean, they first will be initialized to false, right? So that's the point that you need to know. The other point is that when you are going to, for example, when you create an array and then you are going to, for example, assign a value to an element of array, you can access to that element by array name index, as you see here. And it's good to know that this index can be from 0 to array length -1. And you need to keep in mind that this index must be an integer or integer expression. You can see some simple examples here. As you see, for example, we have created an array with the name list and with 5 elements, or we have created an array with the name nums that has the type double and has 10 elements. Then we have assign a value 6 to the element with the index of 3 in the list, in our array with the name list. So as you see here, you can see some very simple examples, and later I'm going to write some code so that you will be more familiar with arrays and how you can create an arrays and how you can initialize the arrays. Okay, let's see some more points about arrays. First, there is a very simpler way in order to declare, create, and initialize arrays in one line, right? So in the previous slides, I showed you that you can create and declare and create arrays in two separate steps. Here, as you see in these examples, we can declare and create and initialize one array in one line. So the format for this is, first you need to write the name, the type of the array, then the array name, and then inside the opening braces and closing braces you can write the initializer list. So what is the initializer list? It's a comma separated list of array values, right? For example, we have int list, and then as the values for this array we have 2, 4, 6, and so on. So as you see, the name of this array is list, the type of elements is integer, and the elements of this array are 2, 4, 6, 8, and so on. And as you see here, the elements are inside the opening braces and closing braces, and they are separated by comma, right? And also, the size of this array is 8. It means this array has 8 elements, right? Then we have double grades, and then we have, as you see here, 4 grades in this array: 96.5, 88.4, and so on, or char vowels, and we have 5 elements in this array, right? So this is another way to initialize an array. When we were talking about the methods, we said that some methods receive input, right? So when the parameter of the input, the parameter of the methods are actually some variables, right, in the main method. So the regular parameter of a method are passed by values. What it means? It means these parameters are the copy of the original parameters, right? So changing this copy inside the method will not change the value of the actual values of the variables inside the main method. So here the point is you can pass the arrays as the input to the methods, right? But there is a very important note that arrays are not passed by the value. It means a copy of the array is not made when you pass the array to the method. So if you change the array inside a method, that change will be applied on the array, the original array outside the method, right? So that's an important point that you need to keep in mind when you pass an array as an input parameter to the method. Then we can see how we can, for example, copy the elements of two arrays, right? So we have array number 1 and array number 2. We want to copy the contents of one array into the another array, right? So the first way to do so is by using the for loop, right? So you will use a for loop. As you see here in this example, we have list 1 and list 2. We have a for loop, and then we can assign each element of list 2 to the elements of list 1. So that's how you can copy list 2 inside list 1. Another way in Java is by using array copy, calling this method. That's a method from the class java.lang.system, and then you can copy one array inside the another array. So you will use array copy. The format is source array, src, POS, target array, TAR, POS, and length. So source position and target position, right? So these two are actually the indexes, right? Starting positions for the first list and the second list. And we have source array and target array, right? So here, for example, the source array is list 2 and the target array is list 1. And the length is the length of for example, that array that you want to copy inside another array. For example, here in this simple example, it's the length of array number, list number 2, so list 2 dot length. So that's another way to copy elements of one array inside another array. Well, so now we need to see how we can create some multi-dimensional arrays. So we saw how we can create a simple array. So actually a simple array has one dimension, right? The format for creating the multi-dimensional array is the same, somehow, the same as the format for creating a single dimension array. So the actual format is as you see in some of the examples in this slide. First, the type of the elements. Here in this example, the type is integer. Then the braces, here we have two double braces, right? Because this array has two dimensions. It's somehow like a table or a matrix. Then the name of that array here, the name is table, then new equals new int and again braces. So inside the first braces we have 5 and the next one we have 3. So 5 indicates the number of rows, right? The number of rows in this table or in the matrix. And 3 indicates the number of columns. So the first one indicates the number of rows and the second one indicates the number of columns. So for example, here, that's a table with 5 rows and 3 columns. In the next example, we have initialized this array with some values. So you see we have 3, 4, 5 as the first row, 1, 2, 3 as the second row, 0, 5, 9 as the third row, 8, 1, minus 2 as the fourth row, right? So each row is inside a opening curly braces and closing curly braces, and as you see each element is separated by comma, and then each row is separated by comma from the another row, right? So this one, that's a matrix that has 4 rows and 3 columns. So that's how you can declare, create, and initialize a multi-dimensional array. Sometimes you need to assign a value to one cell of a matrix, one cell of a multi-dimensional array. So how you can do so? By, as you see in this example, we have first the name of that array, here is table, then the braces. So inside the first one, we will write down the number of index, right, of that row and the number of index in that column. So table 3, 1, B5, it means the element that is inside the row with the number 3 and the column with the number 1, the value of that cell, that element B5. So let's see a very simple example to show you how you can declare and initialize arrays. So for example, we want to create an array with the type integer and length 10, right? So here we have int list, right? B new int 10. So here we have this array, and I'm going to print the contents. The system.out.println content of integer array, and I'm going to print the elements of this array one by one. So for int I be 0, as long as I is less than the length of the array, list.length I plus plus. And then system.out.println list I, right? List I is list I. So as you see, all of them are 0, right? So let's initialize this array. For example, here we initialize that to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 10. And now let's see the result. Okay, so as you see, since we have initialized this, value of elements has changed, right? So let's initialize the values of this array in a different way, right? For example, we want to initialize the elements of the array to be numbers from 0 it has 10 elements, right? So we want the elements be 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, right? And so we want the elements be 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and 20. Right, so actually it's like 2 multiplied by a counter, for example, I, and this counter is from 0 to 10, right? So how we can initialize this array? So first, we have this for loop, right? So for I be from 0 to the length of the list here is 10, that's correct. So we want the list I be I multiplied by 2, right? Okay, so you see the result here, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, and so on. So here we have list 9. I need to revise this one because the index of the arrays start from 0, right? So if it's 10, it would be from 0 to 9, right? Okay, let's see another example. In this example, we are going to print a bar chart. Okay, so first let's create an array. So the array is int array b. We initialize it 0, 0, 0, 0. 1, 2, 4, 2, 1. So this is the actual output that we are going to create. Right. So as you see, we have here 11 lines, right? And in these last lines, we have in these two, 1 star, 2 star, and here we have 4 stars, right? So we want to create this output. First, I will create, as you see, an array and we'll initialize that. So for the first line, 0, 0, 2, these lines are 0 stars, right? And then I have 1 for the next line, 2 for another line, 4 another line, and so on, right? Then I'm going to print grade distribution. So system.out.println grade distribution. Then for each array element, output a bar of the chart. So for int counter be 0, counter less than array dot length and counter plus plus. So first we are going to output this line, right? So output bar labels. To 100. So if counter is 10, then system dot out dot printf 100, right? Else system dot out dot printf %2d 0 2d 2 percent 02d. Counter multiplied by 10, counter multiplied by 10 plus 9. Then I'm going to print bar of asterisks. So for int stars 0 to stars be less than array counter stars plus plus system dot out dot print. I'm going to print this star. System dot out dot println for going to the next line. Right. So that's the program. And let's run the code and see the result. Okay, so you see that we have the result here.